Are you ready to get started?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you have something outside the presence of the attorney?
Yes. Yes.
All right, for the record, we're here on the second day of trial in the State versus Stanley Liggins case, FECR 147696. All counsel are present along with Mr. Liggins, and we are in open court. I understand we need to make a record.
Yes, Your Honor. One of the witnesses that will be read into the record today by form of testimony is Diane Pemberton. And first, I have no issues or desire to attempt to enter into any other form of testimony Ms. Pemberton, so we'll find that there are some sections within the testimony that will be skipped. And I think by agreement of the parties.
That's correct.
For the record, it's page 514 of Ms. Pemberton's testimony in the second trial in 1995, beginning at line 22 through page 515, 516, and 517, beginning at line 9. That was some discussion, not directly related to cross-examination, but non-observations in the courtroom about interactions with Mr. Pemberton, or Ms. Pemberton, or lack thereof, not pertinent to the cross-examination, and so the entirety of that testimony won't be read.
Mr. Wall, do you agree?
Yes. I just want to clear page 514, starting at line 22 through 517, line 8.
Through line 8.
Correct. I said 9, but it doesn't matter in the transcript. It's just Mr. Hilton may proceed and then cross-examination continues.
All right.
And then the other matter is in Mr. Tobey's cross-examination of Ms. Pemberton. Essentially, for context, beginning on page 511, and then into 512, Mr. Tobey references, essentially he's attempting to impeach Ms. Pemberton from prior testimony, and although I wasn't at the trial, he clearly, when he's approached the bench, is having to look at a couple of pages of the prior transcript. He then says he wants to enter 2 pages into evidence. There's no objection from the county attorney. The court says you may, and Mr. Tobey says I can take care of that and make a copy and put stickers on them later. I don't know where that's at, where those 2 pages are at. And it should be part of the evidence from the 93 trial, but I don't know if those pages are at for the purposes of my reading the cross-examination of Ms. Pemberton. The difficulty is I don't believe that there was a page or line reference that I can see around this, so that I knew or can reference what Mr. Tobey was talking about, so I can simply print them out and replicate that. So I don't know what the solution is, Judge, or is there a way to see if it's in evidence of the court file?
Mr. Walton?
I'm not aware of what that may be. I notice he doesn't reference an exhibit number. There would be the clerk's list of exhibits from 1995. I don't know if I have that with me.
Do you know what trial or previous sworn testimony he was referencing?
I think he was, well, that's not at all clear either. I'm guessing it was the 93 trial. And I believe it was the 93 trial.
Do you have that transcript?
I do have that transcript, but he doesn't have a page reference to what those pages were within the transcript. And having read that transcript, if that type of testimony or that area of testimony wouldn't have necessarily been narrowed down to 2 pages, I don't believe.
Mr. Walton, is there a way for you to call back to Scott County and see if they can look at that, at the exhibits from the 93 case and determine if an exhibit was entered in relation to this?
My understanding regarding the trial exhibits, Your Honor, is the clerk does not have it, and that they returned those to the parties. That's what they did with the state's exhibits.
When is she going to be called today, Ms. Pemberton?
Yes, Your Honor.
When approximately?
This morning.
Okay. Do you think you can look at the 93 trial transcript? Do you even have the 93 trial testimony?
We have the testimony, and I think I see where you're going on. I can try to find where he's referencing those 2 pages. And it really won't affect my reading with Ms. Pemberton today. It would simply be I have to find it and then ultimately make it part of the exhibit for the trial.
All right, I think that makes sense.
Yes, I would just state we do have, we took out of the trial transcript the part reference, just the index of exhibits, and it does not appear that that was ever entered. It has defendant's exhibit A, McRae's partial testimony, B, Adams' partial testimony, C, Hughes' partial testimony, and D, Illinois Bell bill and grocery list.
Yeah, what was that?
Illinois Bell bill and grocery list. And that would appear to be the only exhibits entered. I don't know if that might be by volume, but I think it would be in the record whether or not that exhibit was entered.
Well, if it was not entered, I'm certainly not going to restrict the defense from finding those 2 pages now and entering them now. Because otherwise it's not going to make sense for Ms. Pemberton's transcript to say these are going to be entered into evidence and nothing shows up. So if you can find 2 pages, show them to the state, and then you can certainly enter those 2 as exhibits. And they don't have to be done today. You can do it Tuesday morning if you'd like.
No, I appreciate that, Your Honor, and my hope is that we can find it today.
How, are you going to still read that or not read that section?
I think I'm confident that we should be able to narrow it down and agree that those are the 2 pages that he was referring to. I think it'll take a little time to put it in context and look at the wording we're using. So I'm comfortable with reading it today. And ultimately, we somehow are unable to find that exhibit. I'm also comfortable with the cross-examination that Mr. Toby did.
All right. So we're in agreement that we'll read the entire transcript today with the exception of those other pages marked or that were listed. And the defense will have an opportunity to look over the weekend for the 2 pages or 3 pages, whatever it is, of transcript that you believe show impeachment and can enter those on Tuesday as an exhibit. Mr. Waldman as well?
No objection to that.
Okay, all right. Anything else?
I do on the same issue, I don't know. Mr. Hallbaker was done, or you want me to proceed?
I'm done, I think I understand that.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Walton.
A couple of the same transcript. At page 510, starting line 1, there is a question by the defense. That question was at line 2, which day did you choose to tell the truth? There was an objection by the state. That objection was sustained. Then the transcript reflects the parties approached the bench. The discussion was held. At line 11, then, Mr. Toby attempted to re-ask the question. At line 11, it says, let me ask it in a different way. On which occasion that you talked about seeing the car before, were you telling the truth? Her answer was pardon. And Mr. Toby began at line 15, on which occasion, at which point Mr. Davis, the transcript indicates, says, excuse me, may we approach again? Transcript reflects that the discussion was held off the record at this time. And then at line 19, they move on. I think it's clear that that line of questioning would need to be inappropriate. There was an objection sustained. The rest of the conversation doesn't go anywhere. And so I think that that particular question was objected to, and that question was sustained. So I think, pursuant to our previous discussions about objections when they're sustained, on page 510, line 9, on page 510, line 1, through line 18 should not be read or part of the record.
Mr. Hallbaker?
I would be hypocritical of me to object to that part of it.
All right, so we will not read lines 1 through 18 on page 510 as well.
2 through 18, Ron.
Yes, 2.
Lines 2 through 18, all right.
Yes.
Anything else before we bring the jury in?
Yes, Your Honor. Again, regarding the transcript of Ms. Pemberton, obviously we're trying to work through a somewhat unique situation. We discussed before the issue that State's Exhibit 86 was a portion of the Peugeot vehicle that was present in the courtroom in the prior trials, and that was impossible to do in this case. So we are without an exhibit that was admitted and that witnesses referred to. That arises in Ms. Pemberton's testimony. Regarding Ms. Pemberton, it's purely an identification of just the vehicle. There was no, she didn't get off the stand, she didn't look at it, didn't turn on any lights. So I think that is fairly easily remedied regarding her testimony. There is a photograph of the vehicle in the courtroom that is already marked State's Exhibit 86A. And we would propose that in place of the vehicle being in the courtroom as an exhibit, that 86A, at least for purposes of this testimony, be submitted so that the witness would look at the picture 86A, testify regarding 86A.
Any problems with that?
No objection.
All right, that's granted.
That would also be true for a witness who is present today, Mary Ann Allen.
I have no objection to that, Your Honor.
All right.
Oh. I think I can specifically point out where that occurs. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Take your time.
I lost where we're at. I was talking.
He said, Mr. Walton said he could point out where that occurs in the testimony.
Oh, I don't, if you want to, that's fine. Mr. Walton and I talked about how to deal with these exhibits, and knowing that they were introduced in prior trials beforehand, I don't have an objection to, I believe it's 3 exhibits that you need to refer to.
That's correct.
Okay, I believe it's exhibit 1, exhibit 4, excuse me?
4 and 68.
And 4 and 68. I'm not going to have an objection to those. The discussion we had was how to deal with them prior to reading the testimony. And I also will have no objection if Mr. Walton offers those exhibits prior to the reading of Ms. Pemberton's testimony, indicates that they are offered without objection by defense counsel, at which point either he can say that, and they've been admitted, or if the court would say they are admitted, that doesn't matter to me, before we begin Ms. Pemberton, because there are needed for points of reference within the testimony that's going to be.
Mr. Altwall, go ahead and ask that they be admitted and that the defense has no objection. I'll admit them then. Anything else?
Well, if I could have just a minute, I have some notes on
Sure.
the transcript I want to be sure we've covered. I believe that covers it, Your Honor.
All right. Anything further, Mr. Lawbaker?
Not too much, Your Honor.
All right. Let's have the jury in. Mr. Walton?
The state calls Christina Olsen to the stand. Come forward and be sworn, please. Come forward and be sworn.
Could you just come right up here, ma'am? And just stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
I want to see right up here, please.
Will you tell us what your name is?
My name is Christina Olsen,
And will you spell your first name for us?
Christina,
And your last name?
Olsen.
Can you push the microphone away from you just a little bit?
Okay. All right.
Where do you live?
I'm sorry.
Where do you currently live?
I currently live in Rock Island, Illinois.
And is that part of the Quad Cities?
Yes, it is.
Were you born and raised in the Quad Cities?
I was born and raised in Davenport, Iowa.
And did you reside in Davenport, Iowa?
Up until 8 years ago.
So you resided in Davenport, Iowa in 1990?
Yes.
I'm going to direct your attention to events occurring in September of 1990. Where did you live in September of 1990?
I lived in Davenport on the corner of 12th and Marquette Street.
Is there a school near there?
Yes, there is.
What school is that?
Jefferson School.
I want to direct your attention to events occurring on September 17th of 1990. Are you familiar with that evening?
Yes.
Did something remarkable occur in your memory on that evening?
A little girl's body was found burned right by the
And did, when you learned about that, and why don't I ask you, when did you learn that that had happened?
I learned about it later that day. I was told that a body had been found.
And when you heard that a body had been found in Jefferson Schoolyard burning, did that bring some relevance to something that you had seen previously?
Yes, it did.
And will you tell us, where were you when you saw this event that you thought was relevant?
I was coming home from my brother's house. He lived in North Davenport. And I had turned onto 13th Street over by Jefferson Park. And I had seen a fire.
Can I stop you there?
Yeah.
What street were you on before you turned onto 13th Street?
Warren.
Warren, W-A-R-R-E-N?
Yes.
Okay, so you're coming down Warren towards 13th from your brother's house?
Yes.
And I think when I interrupted you, you were on 13th Street.
Yes.
Then, and you were in a car, correct?
Yes, I was.
Who was it? Excuse me. Was anyone in the car with you?
My kids were with me.
And tell us about your kids.
My son, his name is Augustine, and we called Gus. He was 13. And my daughter Winnie, who was 10 at the time.
Where were they seated?
She was in the front seat with me. He was in the back seat.
Okay. So going back now to, you're in your car, and you're obviously the driver, and you're on 13th Street.
Yes.
Then what happened?
Well, we were headed towards Myrtle, but right there by Myrtle was Jefferson Park. And we had noticed just as we were getting ready to turn on Myrtle that there was a fire there.
And was the fire near the school?
Yes.
Okay, then what did you do?
Well, I came down Myrtle Street, we drove by it, and I just thought it was just trash or something burning, and I went home. The kids and I just went home.
What time did you see this fire burning near Jefferson School?
At 8:16 in the evening.
And you're very precise about that.
Yes.
8:16 p.m.?
Yes.
How can you be so certain?
Because I had two clocks, digital clocks in the car. One was in my radio and one was in the dashboard. And my daughter Winnie was messing around with the knobs on the radio, and I told her to quit. I just happened to glance at that after I had noticed the fire.
And you noted that when you glanced at the radio, at the clocks, that it was 8:16?
Yes.
Was there anything you were trying to get home for?
I wanted to go home because I always had to get up early in the morning, so I wanted to go home and go to bed as soon as possible. And at the time, there was something I wanted to see on television. I don't remember what it was.
I have no further question for you. These lawyers may. Thank you.
Mr. Hawbaker, Ms. Watt?
It's me, Your Honor. Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Olsen.
Good morning.
So you're driving by the area by Jefferson Park at, as you're saying, 8:16. Did you see anybody else in the area at that time?
No, sir, I didn't.
Are there bushes and trees around that park?
No. As I remember anyway, it was a park when we were kids, and then it shut down, and it was just like an open field. There was still a shelter in the park because it sat down, like in a hill. And we went down into the park, and then going down Myrtle, there was an open field on both sides.
How about when you're on 12th Street in Vine, when 12th Street kind of turns into Vine, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay, on that bend down there, are there trees and bushes along that bend?
I'm going to be honest with you, I don't remember.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember, did you have your headlights on in your car?
Yes.
Was it light or dark or out there?
It was still kind of light out. Yeah, it wasn't, I don't remember it being dark, no.
And would it be fair to say that we would often refer to that as dusk?
Right.
Okay, that it's not the pitch black, you can't
Oh, no.
see anything. Okay. And so, at that time then, at 8:16, other than the fire, you didn't see any cars there, any people going around, anybody there that might have been responsible for that fire?
No, I did not. No.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anything further?
No, Your Honor. Thank you, Ms. Olson.
Let me sit down.
State would call Eddie Zapien.
Mr. Zapien, if you just come right up here, please, and I'll swear you in. Just raise your right hand, please. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I see right here, please. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could I have you state your first name and spell it, please?
Ed Zapien, E-D-Z-A-P-I-E-N.
Thank you.
Mr. Zapien, I'm going to ask you to hold the microphone a little bit closer to you. There you go. Thank you.
So you spelled your first and last name. Can I have you spell your last name again?
Z-A-P-I-E-N.
And how old are you?
I'm 48.
What is your occupation?
My occupation is roughly general construction.
And where do you presently live? What city? What city?
Davenport, Iowa.
Have you always lived in Davenport?
I was currently living in Rock Island for approximately, give or take, 5 to 10 years.
In 1990, what city did you live in?
Rock Island.
You remember the events of September 17th, 1990?
Vaguely.
And is there something that about what happened that day that why you remember that day?
I went off work and then after I got cleaned up, I had went down to a friend's house.
Let me stop you there. Who were your? What was the name of the friends? What was the name of the friends?
It was Sherry and Ace. I do not recall their last name.
Could have been Glenn.
Yeah, Glenn. I always knew him by Ace.
And Ace and Sherry were married.
That I do not recall.
Okay.
If they were married or not.
Okay. And where did they live?
They lived, down by 11th. I don't know the correct address, but I wanted to say somewhere in between, say, 15th and 17th, 18th Street.
All right.
This has been a while ago.
Understood. So I think you testified on that date, you got off work and got cleaned up. About what time did you get off work?
I believe it was about in between 4 and 5.
And you said you then went to the Ace and Sherry's house?
That's correct.
What time did you get to Ace and Sherry's house?
I Again, I'd say November 5:30.
Was anybody else at that house?
Yeah.
And who else was there?
To the best of my knowledge, it was me, Glenn, Sherry, and Stanley, and Jennifer.
You used the term Glenn, is that mean Ace?
Yeah.
Same person?
Yeah.
So it's Sherry, Ace, and you used the name Stanley. Do you know Stanley's full name?
Stanley Liggins.
Did you know Stanley Liggins at that time?
I knew of him, I did not know him on a personal basis.
Would you recognize Mr. Liggins if you saw him today?
Yes, sir.
Is Mr. Liggins in the courtroom?
Yes, sir.
And can you describe where Mr. Liggins is seated and what he is wearing?
He was sitting right there. He has a gray overcoat with dark glasses and a white t-shirt.
So you pointed to the individual to my right.
Yes.
Was he there when you arrived?
Yes, sir.
And then you used another name and said Jennifer was there. Who was Jennifer?
Jennifer Lewis was Sherry's daughter. I do not believe if Glenn was the biological father. No.
Anyone else that you remember?
Not that I recall.
Did the Glens have any other children?
They did have a baby. Again, it's been a while ago. I know he was a boy, but I don't remember his name.
What did you do at the Glens house?
It was typical weekend and stuff like that. I would go down there after work on weekends. We would drink a couple beers. To my recollection, I thought they had a pool table. It might have been a pool table. Again, it's been a while, but we played a couple games. It got boring. I was young at the time and kind of like to, if there wasn't a lot of things going on at one place, then I had a tendency of going somewhere else.
Okay. So you're at the Glens house, you're drinking a couple beers, playing pool or football, and you decide to leave. And I'm going to have to ask, is that a yes or a no?
Yes.
So the court reporters.
Okay.
How long do you think you were there?
Again, rough guesstimate, hour and a half tops.
Was Stanley Liggins there the whole time you were there?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Was Jennifer there the whole
Yes.
time? When you left, was Jennifer there?
I don't believe she was, but she was running in and out the back door the whole time that I was there. So if she was out in the yard or if she had went to a friend's or something like that, I do not know.
Where did you go after you left the Glens house?
I went to a buddy's house that I had worked with that previous summer doing construction. His name was Eli. I do not know his last name because he had only worked with us for a period of time, like 6 to 8 months.
So he was a co-worker of yours in the construction?
Yes, sir.
How long do you think you stayed at Eli's?
It was just me and him, give or take, I say half hour, 45 minutes tops.
What were you guys doing?
Just having a conversation about work, talking about you.
What did you do then?
After we left there, we got bored, and Eli had suggested that his mom was having a barbecue or a bonfire at her house with her boyfriend John. Again, I do not recall his last name. We went up there, and
When you say we, you and Eli?
Yes, sir.
And this was his mom's house?
Yes, sir.
And what were their names? If you know?
His name was Sue, I believe her name, or his name, or her name was Sue and his name was John. Like I said, I don't recall their last names because they were just like one summer acquaintance.
And what did you do there?
Just sat around the backyard, cooked out, had a bonfire, talked about, I couldn't even tell you what the conversation was about.
Drinking some beers?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. At some point, did you leave?
Yeah, I don't remember if it was me and John who had went to Jewel or if it was me and Eli.
Why did you go to Jewel?
It was a close place
For what?
for beer.
Okay. So you left at some point to get more beer, you went to Jewel. In what city?
I believe that was East Moline. It was off of 23rd Ave. So it was either on the border of Moline or East Moline. I'm pretty sure that at the time they lived off of Kennedy.
Okay. So I'm just going to set a little context here geographically. Rock Island is in one of the Quad Cities in Illinois, is that correct?
Yeah.
And Moline is the other Illinois city of the Quad Cities, which is next to Rock Island. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then East Moline is, of course, abuts Moline. Okay? Am I correct?
Yes.
And these are all cities within the Quad City area.
Yes.
And you mentioned 23rd Avenue, that would be a major thoroughfare in Illinois, Quad Cities, that kind of runs through all those cities.
Yes.
After you went to Jewel to get some beer, what did you do then?
We went back to John and Sue's house.
Drank some beer?
Yes, sir.
How long do you think you stayed there?
There was drinking involved, so the precise time I do not know. I knew it was a couple of hours. This is just throwing it out there. I would say I left in between 11 and midnight.
And where did you go then?
I went home.
Were you living with anybody at that time?
I was living with my girlfriend and my mother,
And what was your girlfriend's name?
Stacy Liggins.
Stacy Liggins with a D?
Yeah, D-I-G-G-M-A-N-N.
And what was your mom's name?
Judith Miles. Judith Miles, M-I-L-E-S.
At some point, were you visited by detectives or police officers?
Yes, sir.
And when did that occur in relation to the 17th?
Like I said, I do not believe if it was the next day or the day after, but I do recall them visiting and taking me around.
And you know who those individuals were?
The detectives?
Yes.
I do not recall their name.
Do you know what agency they were from?
Again, I do not know if they were detectives or if they were FBI agents.
What did you do? And what did you do with how, was it one or more than one detective or just one?
I believe there was, excuse me, I believe there was just one the first day, and on the second day I do believe there was two. Again, I could be mistaken, it's been a long time. But to the best of my knowledge, that's the way I think it was.
And so what did you do with the detectives?
On the first day, he took me to Eli's apartment, which was located, I believe, in Moline. Could have been on the border again, of Rock Island and Moline.
And what did you observe, or what happened at Eli's?
At Eli's, he asked me to wait in the car, and where he lived at, there was an alley in the back, so there was back porches. He went upstairs, he knocked on the door, they came out, Eli came outside, talked to the detective. I have no idea what that conversation was about. And after that, then we pursued to go to Eli's mom's house.
Okay, let me just stop you there for a minute. Before this time, had the detective interviewed you?
He had interviewed me at my house before we had gone to jail.
So he interviewed you at the house, and then he basically took you around to where you said you were.
Yes, sir.
And you described you went to Eli's, and then I think you just said then you went to Eli's parents, John and Sue's. And what happened there?
Again, I was asked to stay in the car as he went inside, and when he came back out, that's pretty much all that I remember.
So he left you in the car, and you saw him go inside the house. Is that a yes?
Yes, sorry.
And you remember how long he was in there? If you know.
Give or take, I would say anywhere from a half hour to maybe a little over an hour.
And then when he came back out, what happened?
When he came back out, he asked me where I had been after that. I told him that we went to Jewel or hospital, whichever one we were open. And again, he asked me to stay in the car, and he went inside.
Now, just for clarification, I believe Jewel Osco is kind of one store.
They're connected, yeah.
They're connected. One's a pharmacy, one's more of a grocery store, so they're one place.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And again, at that location, he left you in the car. Is that a yes?
Yes, sir.
And then he came back out at some point, and then where'd you go?
Then I believe that he took me back to my residence and gave me one of his cards and told me that they would be in contact.
Did they contact you again?
I do believe it was the next day. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it was the next day.
And what happened then?
At this time, if I remember correctly, I believe they took me downtown,
No.
and I want to say that
Let me stop you there. Did they interview you again downtown? Did they interview you again downtown?
yeah, they took me downtown and
Okay. Somewhat unusual question that we're asking some of the witnesses, but this occurred in 1990. Appearances change. In 1990, was your appearance different?
oh, of course.
All right, in what way? What was your hair
Well,
like?
believe it or not, I put on a little bit more weight, and my hair was not quite as gray or short. I had it was extremely thick, and not shorter length, but it never grew long, it grew thick.
All right. And for the record, you're taking your hands and you're like waving them out from your head and say, my hair grew thick, and I believe you said it never grew long, it grew out.
Yes, it did.
Like an afro? Is that?
Yeah.
Back in September 17th, in that time period, did you have a vehicle?
Yeah, I had I think it was 76, 77, two-door red Impala.
What was the color?
Red.
All red?
It was red with a white vinyl top with white interior. The reason why I remember that because it was one of my first cars. It was my baby.
Okay. Where was that vehicle licensed?
It was licensed in Illinois.
We've had Illinois plates.
Yeah.
And that's the vehicle you were driving on September 17th, 1990 when you went to the
When you went there?
Went to the Glens.
Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Mr. Bob Baker?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Were there often a lot of vehicles or cars at the lines?
I would say yes. They were always tinkering with something
Where did you park when you went over there that day?
in the driveway.
You often find cars in the driveway when people were visiting?
Yes, sometimes there was places you could park and other times there wasn't.
So it wasn't always true that you had the opportunity to park in the driveway?
No.
Now, as I understand it, you were interviewed first by law enforcement, let's just say that, because you're not really sure of the agency, correct? Correct. Okay. And that was by one individual?
To the best of my knowledge.
I know it's a test of memory this many years later, but to the best of your knowledge, it's one individual. Was that the same individual that took you on this tour of the Quad Cities?
Again, to the best of my knowledge, yes.
And was that the same individual that took you in for a second interview?
Again, to the best of my knowledge, I am not 100% sure.
And I'm guessing that your memory back in September of 1990 about events that around that time period was better back then than it is now. Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay. Would you tell the law enforcement officers that you were at the Glen House from approximately 5:30 p.m. to approximately 6 p.m.?
That was a rough time. I mean, I don't know the exact time.
And I understand what you're saying, Jay, but do you have any quibble with that which you told law enforcement?
That sounds about right, yes.
And you have a friend named Joe Ibarra?
I do not recall.
You don't recall if you had a friend, or do you recall ever telling law enforcement that you had an associate by that name?
Again, I do not recall.
And Do you know if that individual, Mr. Rivera, was at the house when you visited the Glens that day on the 17th?
Best of my knowledge, he might have been, but I do not recall. This has been a long time.
And it's not unusual for a lot of people to be at that house and out of that house, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So let's talk about the people at the house. Ace was there,
Yes.
okay? Sherry was there,
Yes.
and Jennifer was there.
Yes.
And those are the people that you've identified in your testimony and statement, correct?
Correct.
Did you know Mr. Liggins' name at the time?
I knew him Stanley. I did not know his.
When the first law enforcement officer came to interview you, did you tell them that there was a Stanley there at the house?
I do not recall.
Do you know who John Brown is? Was there John Brown at the house at that time?
I do not know.
Do you know if there was an individual named Fred Gonzalez at the house at that time?
Again, I do not know.
How about an individual named Nate Roden? R-H-O-D-E-N, I believe.
It doesn't sound familiar.
How about a Jeff Collins? Do you know a Jeff Collins?
No, I do not.
Or a Larry Kirby?
No, I do not.
Now, when you were talking first with law enforcement, did you tell them that you recall seeing two black males near the Glen residence in a small car that you felt was a two-door brown escort, but you weren't sure?
I might have at the time, but I do not remember at this time.
Did you further then go on to describe that the first male as a 20 to 27-year-old, 5'8" black male, weighing approximately 150 pounds, having a mustache and short cut hair, wearing glasses or sunglasses, wearing Levi's and some type of a dark shirt? Did you tell them that?
I do not recall.
Did you describe the second black male as approximately the same age and height as the first, however weighing a little more than the other black male, possibly 170 pounds? Did you tell them that?
Again, I do not recall.
Do you have any memory of ever telling or seeing individuals there that were African American?
The memory I have is with us four, if all these individuals were there, they must have been present outside. I was inside the house, so I did not have knowledge of these people if they were there, outside, out back. I know I came through the front door, and like I said, I was there less than an hour and left through the front door. So if there was people out back that I did not know, then
Did you tell law enforcement then that the unknown black male, the first one you were referring to, was in the house, he stayed in the house, and played a game of foosball with Ace after you and Ace had played a game.
That sounds about correct.
Okay, would that have been Mr. Liggins?
I'm not sure.
Well, if you don't know who's outside the house, because you were only inside the house, which means you can only describe the individuals that were inside the house. And the individuals that you described at this place are at least adults, okay, are Ace, Sherry, and Stan, in your words. Then it must have been Stan?
Possibility.
Or it was somebody else, you're not sure?
No, I'm not sure.
Okay. Did you tell that law enforcement that you left the Glen residence at approximately 5:55 p.m.?
It's a possibility.
Wouldn't quibble with that, correct?
I wouldn't argue with it. Like I said, I do not know the exact time.
And did you tell them that you traveled to East Moline, Illinois, and visited Sue and Eli, who reside off Kennedy Drive, and remained there until approximately 10:30 to 11 p.m.?
I went to Eli's house first, which he doesn't live off Kennedy, he lives in Moline, and then we pursued to his mom, John and Sue, who lives in North Kennedy.
And so you spent that roughly 5 hours then at the barbecue, as I understand, is that right?
Give or take, somewhere around there. I mean, it might have been longer, it might have been shorter. Like I said, it's been a long time.
You believe you told law enforcement back on the 20th of September in 1990 that you visited Sue and Eli, who reside out Candy Drive, and remained there until approximately 10:30 to 11 p.m.?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And you're telling us that then after this, law enforcement, well, let me ask you this, did you know that Glenn's phone number?
No.
Who were you staying with at the time?
I lived with my mother and my girlfriend,
And what was your girlfriend's name?
Stacy Liggins.
Do you remember your phone number at the time?
No, I don't.
Do you know if Sherry or Mrs. Glenn was trying to get a hold of you or call you after you had left their place?
I do not recall.
You know if she spoke with Ms. Stigman or?
Again, I do not recall. I do not remember.
Did you? Did you tell law enforcement that you did not return a call to Sherry Glenn due to the fact that you did not have their telephone number? And that it apparently is an unlisted telephone number?
I do not remember.
So during this, how long did this tour of the places you say you went to take with this law enforcement officer when he was driving you around?
As I said before, I think he's spent anywhere from a half hour to 45 minutes. It could have been longer, but that's just to the best of me remembering.
And so during that tour, you're saying that this law enforcement officer would have interviewed or spoken with Eli, is that right? Yes?
Yes, sorry.
Yes, sir. And during that tour, he would have spoken with, who else? Was it Sue? Who else did he talk to?
He talked to Sue and John, which was Eli's mom and live-in boyfriend.
And were there any other people he spoke to or interviewed during that drive around?
I do not recall if there was other people at Sue and John's house that he had talked to, and if there was, I do not recall their name because it was a party. There was people there that I didn't know and
That you didn't know?
didn't know.
Was this officer in uniform or plain clothes?
He was dressed in a suit.
And was the car you were driving in a squad car, a marked car, or?
It looked like a plain car. And it wasn't a police car.
Didn't have cages, no radios, that sort of thing, just a regular car?
Yep.
Yes, you did. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break this morning. I'd like you to be back in your jury room ready to go at 10:25, so it's 15 minutes. Keep the admonition in mind. Do not discuss the case and continue to keep an open mind. Please rise for the jury.